a normal thing. The people trust each other. And this is war now. Back then, there was no war. There was no force, but the people did this. So they are really, my heart is bleeding to hear that about these people, nice people. And yeah, so to end the story, this doctor visited Iran, I believe 6 or 7 times in total, and she's absolutely in love with this country. She saw a lot of cities, a lot of places, and she's really in love with this country. She even told me I could imagine one day living there and working there.
No, I believe you. Everyone who sees Iran falls in love. Once Iran, anyone, I know, as Arash, okay, because we are both Iranian, and it sounds a bit nationalistic, but I'm not, I know any European, any American who was in Iran says the same thing. Iran is a different country, different story.
Yeah. It's unfortunately presented by the mainstream media in a different way. And I saw this one example a couple of days ago where they showed a picture of sad female football player, where they're crying and they're about to be hanged. And people post this on social media, SOS, help the Iranian football player, they're about to be hanged in Iran. And then a day later, all of a sudden, I saw the video how they were welcomed in Iran with flowers, like heroes, as like they won the soccer World Cup, and that was the reality. So it was exactly 180 degrees opposite to what the reality was. Well, I always been saying, Manushjan, I always been saying to the people, please turn off your mainstream media. You sleep in peace, because nothing is true what they're telling you. They exaggerate. I'm not a fan of mainstream media. I never watch TV or anything. If I watch a movie, but this is what the mainstream media has done to the people, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we had this. I mean, you cannot, if we reach the point where we cannot even quote this guy, but some years ago, as you know, this manufacturing constant, which was written by Chomsky and Herman. Now, Chomsky is in Epstein files. I mean, you cannot. But okay, this. Anyhow, whatever. Yeah, I mean, at least from academic point of view, they successfully, let's say, Professor Herman, they successfully proved that media in the West, okay, because why the West? Because countries which don't have a claim to democracy, they have no claim to democracy. But the media in the West, which have the claim to democracy, is all manufactured to create consent and agreement. So that's why the people are on their side. So for that reason, there are like corporations who want to have money. So what can be published, and they proved it as MIT professors, right? This was not written somewhere outside the West. It was in the United States, center of power of the Western countries. So these type of things, which is very important to take into consideration. Yeah, this is really. And then just back to Iran, how was this when you were streets empty, or is life as usual there in Tehran?
No, the first 2 weeks was empty, because they called everything closed. All the offices were closed. And I believe 90%, I never seen Tehran so empty, honestly. The Azadi Square, you could park the street, really literally the car in the middle of the street and walk, and it was empty. People were either outside of the city or were at home because they were avoiding the city. There was military controls every 1 kilometer or so all over the city. Military had the city pretty much good under control, so people were stopped. But then the last couple of days, because Persian New Year was on March 20th, yeah. So a couple of days before Persian New Year, people returned to Tehran, and I was actually very surprised by that contrast from empty to full streets within 1-2 days. So the day I left, the streets were full, the bazaar was full, and everybody returned. Now, they are having now a couple more days holidays due to the new year, which is going to be until coming Friday, another 3 days. And I hope that the war ends, so everything can return on Saturday to normality, which
Don't they have like 2 weeks vacation or only 1 week vacation?
some people have 2 weeks, some people, official places have 1 week.
1 week, okay.
Mm,
And did you, when you were in Tehran, did you hear bombs constantly?
constantly.
God. Yeah.
But you know, we're coming from a wartime back then in the 80s. So for me, I knew that from my childhood. I knew that. But of course, you have always a little bit fear. What if they hit you or so? Or even they hit, we had to cover all the glasses. And my apartment there is window one side, mirror the other side, all the way. So we had to cover everything. It just by the shock wave, you can be severely injured.
Yeah.
So we had to cover double and triple with foil, with stickers, with curtain, and so on. But this is what war is. It is everybody who advocates the war should know the consequences of that for their own family. People didn't have internet for many weeks. People actually, since the beginning of the protests, people don't have normal internet in Iran. So you need a VPN. You need a type of connections. Oh, actually, I was accused. Why do you have internet and everybody else doesn't have? So you must be working with the regime. And you cannot answer those people. It's really. It's a shame. But anyway, to cut off a nation from the world for 8 weeks or whatever it is now, it is actually. So I know people, they called me and asked me, please call my mom, my aunt, my sister, my whoever, and many people actually, my father, because I haven't heard from them since 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 days, whatever. Yeah, and I fully understand those people. It's sad that these things happened.
Thanks a lot, Arashjan. I hope we are going to have you back on this channel, so also we can talk about integration and assimilation processes and some other aspects, right? Because when we talk about it, what is integration, what is assimilation? I just need to say something. If you want to go by Barry's model, guys, many politicians, when they talk in Europe, also in US, not only Europe, right? They talk about integration, they mean assimilation. Knowingly, or maybe not deliberately, maybe sometimes it's not deliberate, but very often I think it is, they mix up assimilation with integration. Let me just say, because you said about the Iranians, let me just, guys, tell you something. What does assimilation mean? And maybe we can discuss what Arash told us, because I teach it at university always like this. What does assimilation mean? Assimilation means the following. I go and say, I feel every time I walk, people look at me differently. So I try to adapt, which is a normal human behavior. Because once there is a pack, like in pack of animals, if another animal looks differently, they try to say what's wrong with that animal. So, and then they say, okay, where are you from? I know they don't say it because of all these new laws, and so people are afraid. But time passes, goes by. Oh, you have a beautiful name. May I ask where this name comes from? If they are nice, then assimilation means you say, my name is Manusher, but.
Nicely said. Yes.
But I teach it at university. What does it mean, but? But I was born here. But I have spent 30 years here. But I don't go back to my country of origin. But I completely condemn what's going on in my country of origin. First of all, let's go to condemnation. You don't need to condemn anything because you're not responsible for it. That's the first thing. You don't need to say, but I was born here. I have students here who told me that as well. Iranians born here, Turkish born here, but I was born here. Don't say, but I was born here. That's my name. There is no but.
Be proud of what you are. You
Yes.
don't need to excuse for what you. Yeah.
There is no but. So this is assimilation. Then some steps in assimilation are even more. What can another assimilation be? That people change their names. For example, in Germany, they get a German first name, German last name to have peace of mind. That's another type of assimilation. The problem is if you come from another European country, let's say Poland, and you have this looks, or Ukraine, right? You can change your name. But if you don't have that look, what do you want to do with that one? So then the question is, why do we have that? What is integration? Guys, integration is that the host country gives me the chance to flourish. What does that mean, flourish? Not that I want to do that. Let's take Germany because we live in Germany, but I can also take United States because I always take United States, but it doesn't matter. Let's take to Germany because United States is a different story altogether. Let's take Germany because in Germany it's much harder. If I get a German citizenship, I'm a German citizen. It's not, it's not only the paper I have. The host country should give me the feeling that if I go out, then people don't look at me as if I were an exotic bird. If I go out, when I say my name is Manusher, they're not, what? Right? So then people come and counter me. Oh, you have so many important clients. You have so many important universities. Yes, I have a silo. Different silos. Top educated people, lovely people. I know. Lovely international people. But I chose to be in that silo. But real integration means that I don't need to seek a silo. Because my whole life is not in those companies or in those universities. Is on the street when I'm in a bakery. Is when I go and want to rant something. And that country allows me to say, oh, this guy is well educated. Oh, this guy speaks different languages. Oh, this guy has a PhD. Oh, this guy has this and this and this and this. And I'm fully accepted and integrated. It means that I don't need to change it. So people are strong in different ways, right? Some people break, they try to adapt and assimilate. So what is the problem of assimilation, Arash? The problem of assimilation is you lose your identity. And once you lose your identity, as you know, you lose everything. They completely misunderstand. We both know, we all know that. The question of being bilingual, how important for the brain is if you grow up with different languages. But you know that in Germany, we still have some teachers who believe you need to grow up with one language. You know they do it. You know that.
But one day a friend, which you know, also in common friend, old friend, I don't want to name him now, he mentioned something very interesting, which made me think a little bit about this assimilation and about, he said, Arash, not every person has the strength you have. So this is something maybe I can tell you too, manager. You are a strong person in your personality, in your sport, in your business, in your education. Maybe not everybody does have this strength to say, hey, this is what I am, and I am what I am. I don't care what you think. Actually, people respect you more this way than if you try to adapt or integrate yourself in the culture. And that's why I always been saying I'm proud of these Turkish people who live here 70 years and they don't want to learn German because this is what I am. You wanted me in this country to work, I'm here and I'm working. or the Baluchi people were wearing their traditional clothes. So they are simply proud of their culture and they don't want to change for nobody. And the contrary is happening, unfortunately, for Iranian. They move to Germany and they change immediately. They want to change. I don't want to mention even the example with the scarf, because scarf back then was something which was forced to them to wear. So maybe that was a reason they felt unleashed when they come to Germany, take off immediately the scarf. But in many other segments, you see that the moment they move to Germany, they change immediately. They want to adapt. They try to adapt. And this is from my perspective, but you're the expert, is a weakness
It is.
of it's of a culture.
It is a weakness. You don't need, guys, you don't, I mentioned something. You don't need to change your dietary habits that they say, oh, he also eats whatever we eat. No, you don't like it. You don't need to. You don't. I know you must not. No, why not must not? You don't have to because there is not an external obligation, guys. Forget must not, have to. You don't have to do it. You don't need to come across like that. You don't need to just come, okay, I eat that, maybe they accept me. The more you try to assimilate, the less they respect you.
They respect you. Well said. Exactly.
You agree with me? This is
100%.
this is something which goes in many different directions, and this is then you lose the identity. It reminds me. I think was it? Oh God, Mr. Scott. I hope I'm not misquoting you with that. I think it was Ridley Scott, if I'm not mistaken. It was this movie 14. Oh, what was that? I forgot that. This was about this Cristobal Colon, as the Spanish say, Christopher Columbus, as you say in
Mhm,
English.
mhm, mhm.
And I think back then he made the movie 1992, 3. I don't know when he made it. It was Gérard Depardieu, the French actor, played it.
Oh yeah, I know it.
You remember that movie?
Yeah.
That movie has a very interesting scene. And I always tell my wife that scene. And this is a very powerful scene. Many people miss that scene. When Cristobal Colon, let's use his real name, Cristobal Colon. He came from Italy, but the Spanish, he worked for the Spanish, called him Cristobal Colon. Okay, but Columbus, as the English say, but okay, whatever. But then let's use Columbus, okay. When he was there, and one of those Indios, natives, learned Spanish more and more and more, so he could communicate with the Spanish forces, conquistadores and so. In the movie, you see that the more he moves with them, the better he gets in communicating, right? So, okay, the movie is in English, but okay, originally it means that based on, he was speaking Spanish, right? After 2 years, 3 years, because of all those mutinies, mismanagement, because he was a very good sailor, but he was not a good manager of a city. He couldn't manage the city, what he did. Everything was going down, and that scene comes. Everyone leaves Columbus, and then they don't want to talk. The Spanish make mutiny against him. They report bad mouthing back to Spain, and everything is going out of hand. And one day he was sitting, I think it was on the second floor, in a building which had also church. And it was really going like that movie. And then he gets up to look for his translator, interpreter, this Indio, this native. So he's not there. He looks out, he says, he doesn't have Spanish clothes anymore. He's wearing all those feathers like the Maya Aztecs have, like those warriors, and running out. And he said, even you are leaving me. Even you are betraying me. And he turns to back. You stay quiet. You haven't learned one word of my language. You have been spending 2 years, 3 years in this country. You haven't learned one word of my language. I speak Spanish now fluently. You don't speak even one word. And if you guys think, and it gave me goosebumps when I saw that, because then I realized how many so-called people you hang around with say Happy Nowruz to you. They don't even remember. You marry someone from here, I'm not saying Germany, the West, whatever. The family don't even say Happy Nowruz to you. They forget, but they don't forget their Christmas. And if you don't say Merry Christmas, they get angry at you. And they should. They should. Because it's a simple courtesy to say Merry Christmas because we are in a Christian country. You
Yeah.
should. You should. But hey, the game is two ways. So now I teach it at university that way, intercultural management. What does intercultural management mean? As you said in the beginning, showing this, putting it down, having respect. It doesn't take much to learn some words. You go to his country, conquer his country. Look, I love Spain. I really love Spain. You know that. If there is a country I love a lot, is Spain. We talked about it, right? And Spanish history, all those conquistadores. But you have been spending 2-3 years, and this guy was your voice. He went on expedition with you. This guy went on military expedition with you. His life was in danger. You had armor. He didn't. After 2 years, Cristobal Colon, are you kidding me? Couldn't you just say hello, how are you? Takes much, huh? So why do we have this? Because of a feeling of superiority.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me, Arash?
100%.
And this feeling of superiority is completely wrong. And why do I say that? Now, it doesn't matter if you're a European. If you're an Asian and you also believe that you're superior to other nations, if you're whatever where you are from and you have this superiority feeling, this makes you a bad person. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you are. These are these type of things which we need to take into consideration.
And this reminds me of an interview I saw from, what is his name? Tucker
Carlson?
Tucker, yeah,
Yes.
Carlson Tucker. With whom was it? With Rubio? I think it was with Rubio. When he asked him straight away, how many people live in Iran? And
it was with Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz.
With Ted Cruz, yeah, with Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz.
Yeah, you saw that. Yes. How many people? What is the ethnic group in Iran? He said, you don't know anything about the country you want to bomb. So that reminds me exactly of that story. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And these type of things are extremely important. Extremely important. It reminds me also, lacking knowledge about culture, also, which goes, there is a military culture. The way a country fights and defends itself, behind it, there is a military culture. I remember when I think you can read it. Maybe we just talk about it. It's so interesting. And this is nothing against Afghanistan, right? But I'm not making fun of it, but this is something which Americans faced. When they went into Afghanistan, they realized one thing. In contrast to countries like Iraq, they're not fighting against one army. They're fighting against tribes. Okay. Once you fight against tribes, that's a different story. Because who leads whom? Right? And you're going to laugh about it. Maybe you like it. Excuse me, we are talking more than 1 hour, but I hope this is very interesting. So, and this is, anyone in the military knows what happened in the American military. So what happened? So Americans found out in order to make allies, we are going to pay them. You know that. You know how US works. It's a free enterprise system, money, right? Capitalism. So then they said, okay, you're a leader? Yes. I said, warlord, leader, right? Okay. How many people do you have? And the guy said, I'm not kidding you, 2,000. Good fighters, very good. So they had these translators, right? Back then, you know what happened to those translators anyhow. Okay, 2,000, good, very good. Young, yeah. Strong, yeah. Excuse me, I'm laughing. So we will pay you money so you'll fight for us. Okay. How much? So I don't remember. I'm very bad at numbers. Maybe 100,000, 50,000. I don't know. Just get the figure. Let's say 100,000. Okay. Then they went to another one. How many fighters do you have? 2,000. Also 2,000. Okay. We pay you 100. No, it's not enough. No, I mean, they negotiate. Okay, we pay you 140,000. So then they try to buy these tribes. So they were going, and the expedition force, I'm not kidding you, where they, like the Marines move, right, in the land. And then all of a sudden, they said, from that area where the bot fighters, they're being machine gunned. What the hell? They're allies. Contact them. There's a misunderstanding. So they contact those guys. Why are you shooting at us? We heard you paid those guys 120,000. I'm not kidding you. And this happened again and again, again and again. Then I just said, who is the intercultural management trainer of these army units I would like to meet? My God, this is not, you are not dealing with a regular organized army. So if you want to buy, you need to pay them the same. Because if you don't, you're going to create tensions. And this happened again and again. Ask any American soldier who served there, will tell you the same story. So, when you go, excuse me, so in a way, it's not funny, but in a way, and we know it in companies as well. You're a managing director, you know what I'm talking. You're a CEO, you know how it is. If you pay someone more than the others, you know what happens. We all know what happens, right? You don't need to have an MBA to understand what's going to happen. If they do the same job, you create tension, right? So why do I say that? They said, I had this discussion. They asked the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran. So you could be killed, no problem. Don't get killed. Why is he not afraid? I said, are you guys kidding me? Don't you do a bit of research on the background of this country? Are you really kidding me? You're asking me why he's not afraid? I said, yeah, why not? Everyone wants to live. I can't even believe this. This guy is a war veteran. Do you know how they fought? This is a different story. You see, we are dealing with this. And I just say, this is a war culture. Look, I'm not saying now what is in Iran is better, in the other countries, war culture is worse, or other way around. But you need to understand also, when you want to go into military action, it's not only the weapons you have, there is also the culture and the military culture of soldiers of that country. So, Arash Johnny, sorry that I just took your time so much and we talked a lot about that.
It was lovely to talk with you and share some recent experience anytime again.
Thank you very much, Arash John. I wish you a nice day and talk to you soon, hopefully.
Thank you, Manager. Thank you so much, and continue the way you're doing. We're proud of you, what you're doing.
Thank you.
And yeah.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe.
We're
Thank
proud
you.
of you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
nice day.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.